So now we have all the ones at the end. And if we scroll up, we've got all the highest counts. And so this is definitely some weirder stuff. All right, but now we have what we need. Oh, excuse me. So now, since I have all of my highest sorted words up at the top here, I can just take the first 10 items of this list, first 10 tuples out of the list. All right, so I can say for, here, actually, I'm going to have top n equals a blank list. This will be an empty list for top n words. And I'm going to say for I in range. I'll say for index in range, actually, because that's how I'm going to use it. All right, I'm going to loop 0 through 9 by using range 10. Right, it'll start at 0 and it'll loop till 9. And we're going to add each of the top 10 words to the list. Right, to the top n list here. So I'm going to say top n. I'm going to add to the list. So I'm going to say dot append. And we're going to append the word items list at the index. Right, so it'll count up from 0 to 9 and add each of those items at those indices to our list of top 10 words, top n words. So we'll print top n. And now we've shortened our list, right, to just 10. Now I don't want to represent this as a list of tuples, so I can just convert it back into a dictionary, right? Because I took a dictionary and converted it to a list of tuples. I can take that list of tuples, convert it right back to a dictionary. So I'm going to do that right here. Convert back to dictionary. And I'll say top n equals dict top n. Right, so this is the typecasting function for a dictionary. And now if I print this, I'll save first. If I run the code, we got the same data, but as a dictionary. And now it's just a matter of looping through this and displaying the output. And I guess I could write them to a file as well. So what I'm going to do here this. All right, so I'm going to start with a string here, and it's going to say top. It'll be an F string. Top n words. So it'll say like whatever number I have there. In this case, it'll be 10. It'll say top 10 words, and then we'll have a new line, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 12 hyphens, and then a new line. So this will be 2 lines of text with these new line characters. And this will just act as a little label. And so what I want to do now is loop through my items, or through the items of this dictionary. And so I'll say for word, comma, count in top 10 dot items. Right here, I'm using the unpacking, the tuple unpacking that I was talking about yesterday, where I can take the word and its count, right, the key and the value from each item, and save them in 2 separate variables. I'm going to do that there, and then I'm going to add the current word and its count to the output string. All right, this is unpacking the word and count for each item to 2 variables. All right, and here we'll just say output. That's this initial string here, and we're going to concatenate plus equals NF string. Right, we're going to concatenate the word and the count. Okay, well, for now, we'll just print output. We'll write it to a file here in a second. So if we print the output, oops, not top 10, but top n. There it is. Oops, I need a new line after each item. There we go. So there they are listed out. Top 10, this is coming from that variable. Right, maybe I want to have a number next to each one. Right, I want to count with it. So we're going to have label equals 1. And then we're just going to put the label in there. Label dot. Well, let's have number, because that makes more sense, I think. And then each loop here, we're going to need to increment. Right, number plus equals 1. And this will just add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 next to the output for each word, right, just so we can see how they're ranked. So now we have this output string, right? This is a big string, has a bunch of new line characters in there, but it's all just text. And so now I can take this and write it to my file. All right, so I'm going to say with, I'll put this comment above it. I'm going to do the same thing as I did at the top, with open as text file. That same structure is there. And then the file name here will be top n words.txt. And I'll create that file. And I want to open it to write. Now, write mode, if this file exists, we'll open it up and rewrite its contents. If this file doesn't exist, it'll create it first and then write the contents to it. Right, so I don't have this file yet, but Python will create it for me. So all I want to do here, right, this text file object is exactly the same as it was at the very top. I have some different methods that I can use to manipulate that file. I can read it, and I can also write to it. So I'm going to write the output string to a text file. Right here, I'm opening a new text file in write mode. Right, so I say text file dot write, and then that takes in a string. Obviously, it takes in a string, and so we'll pass in that output string. Right, so I'll open up my file tree here, and we'll run the code. So I created this file, top n words. And when I click it, they're there. All right, so we've created this txt. And if I come back into the code, all right, and I come up here and change n to 20 and run the code again. Oh, because I did 10 here. And I need to do n instead. Again, and now we should see 20 words. All right, just by changing that variable. And we can see here that right here in 12 through 14, we got our 11s, right? But, in, and not all happen 11 times. And if you remember, the count of the blank strings that were in there because of that weird discrepancy was 11. Right? So that would have actually thrown off our output if we had the top 20 words. That blank string would have shown up in there. So it's a good thing we skipped that. Now, what I want to do with this, right? This is like 100 lines of code, 101. And so I don't necessarily need to see all this stuff in order for my code to work, right? So I can kind of split this up and make it a little bit more readable. And I'm going to do that by splitting it up into functions and then into a module. So I'm going to select all this stuff and copy it and create a new file just called count words. All right, this is where I'm going to break everything up into functions. we'll close all in one. We'll close top end words, and I'm going to close that up for now. Okay, so the first thing we were doing here was opening our file. Right, so I'm going to make this my first function. I'm going to say def right, def read text file. Oops. Text file. Parentheses and my colon. And in here, I want to pass the file name. That'll be what I pass to this particular function. It'll be the text file to open. Now I'm going to take this entire code block here that I had before for that file opening and tab it over so that it's in my function. I'm going to write a doc string for this function. That's going to say open a text file, read its contents, and return them as a giant string. Right, so this is what this function is going to do. If I hover over the function now, we see that doc string coming through. So now, since I've split this into a function, right, I'm going to pass it the file name, and the file name is what is going to be opened then. So alice.txt, I'll pass that later. It'll be represented in the function by this variable. And now, instead of saving the dirty text here, what I want to do here is save this as content. Because what I want to do is return the content. Right, this will be the purpose of this function is to open this file, read its contents, and return the contents as a string. Right, so that'll be this portion here. So now if we look at the main part of the code here, right, we don't have this variable dirty text anymore. So if I ran this code, right, we're going to get a name error. So we've taken that logic out. So we need to redefine that. Right, I'm going to right, I'm going to say read text file. That'll be my comment. And what I'm going to do is say dirty text equals read text file. Right, I'm going to call that function with alice.txt. Right, so it'll pass this file name up to the function. It'll open that file name inside this variable. We're going to read the contents and return the contents. When we return them, it's going to come back to this line and save it in this variable. And now, since I've done that, right, I've now included that code block back into my code, and everything should work just fine. Here, instead of, I'm going to comment this out for a moment. And just print output. I guess we'll change this back to 10. So there we go. Right, still working just fine. In fact, let's change this to like 5. All right, so now onto the next portion. Right now, the next portion was cleaning up the text. Right, removing the lowercasing everything, replacing the new line characters, everything up until this word list. Right, so we split it up into a word list. And so up here, where I have my function definitions, I'm going to define one more. So I'm going to say def. Right, this will be my text cleaning function. So I'm going to call it scrub text. Parentheses and a colon. My parameter here is going to be the dirty text. I'm going to pass it some text to be scrubbed. A doc string that says clean text by lowercasing everything, removing new line characters and punctuation, and splitting each space, or splitting at each space to form a list of words. Return the list. And so I have all this logic done. I'm going to skip over this line because that's just my function call. And I'm going to grab everything from my cursor right now down to the word list portion. I'm going to cut that. Boop. And that will become the body of my function. Oops. Tab that over. now this is all in a function. And what I need to do is return word list. Right, so I'm going to return that list from this function. All right, return the list. So now all that logic is for cleaning the text is represented now by this function name. And so down here, I can say word list equals scrub text and pass it the dirty text. And so now I've represented those bunch of lines here with just 2. Right, so let's keep on going with this. I'm going to make a function for counting the words now. I'm going to call it tally list or tally words. That's going to take in the word list. And it's going to do this looping portion. Up through here. That's we're going to cut that out and paste that in the code block for this function. And we'll write a doc string here. Which will be this comment, I think. Right, return the counts dictionary. So this is where it creates the dictionary and loops through all the stuff. And then what we need to do from this function is return the word counts dictionary right after the loop is complete. So these code blocks are getting a little weird, but we can see that 4 spaces in belongs to the function. Right, so word counts here belongs to the function. This for loop is at that same 4 space indentation. Everything in this is looping. And then when we return back to 4 spaces, that'll be after our loop is done. So that's where we want to put return. If I put it inside, if I put return word counts here, it's only going to go once through the loop, right? It'll only count the very first word. Yeah, it didn't even. Oh, because I'm not saving it. But let's just try it. Hang on. Word counts equals tally words word list. List index out of range. Oh yeah, because I'm looping through those numbers. Yeah, so see, it doesn't even work, right? So I'm not getting all the way through. So I need to put that at the indentation for the function in this case, right outside the loop. And now it should work just fine. Now we're getting the top 5. So here we're going to count the words in the word list. Okay, so now we want to find, I'm going to say def find most, we'll say find top n words. Oops. Words. I will take in the word counts. So this is going to return a dictionary of the top n most frequent words in the word counts dictionary. So that'll be this word items portion through right here through this dictionary portion. Right, so we're going to cut that and put it up here in my function. Now, actually, this is going to need another variable, another parameter here, which is n. Right, so because we're counting to n. All right, so we'll move this comment up. Oh, and this other function too will also need to be up there. So I'm going to cut that and put that right above top n words, right? Because this function is used by the sort method here. So I'll group those together so they're findable. So now I need to do is say top n equals find top n words and pass it the word counts and the value we have for n. Right, so this should still work. Oops. Top n dot items. That's in here. Word counts dot items. What? Word counts here and see what this does. I missed something somewhere. All right. Oh, top n is not defined. Oh, okay, that's fine. I'm confused. John, do you see what's messing up here? Oh, I think it's because I did return top n. I just needed to continue forward. So let's see here. Yeah, so that should work. Yeah. Okay, that's what it was. So I wasn't returning anything from the function, and so when it got down to this line, right, trying to find the items for that, I didn't have any. There was no value, right? That function had returned none because I didn't have this return value in there. When you don't specify a return, a function returns none. And when I tried to run that, right, I tried to run top n dot items, and that value was none. The value within the top n variable was none because that's what that function just returned, right? Because I wasn't returning anything from find top n words, that function. So I just wanted to clarify that. So now I'll pull this back in. This should work just fine. There we go. So let's get rid of that print. Oop. And now we just need to write this to a file. All right, so that'll be the last function I write. It'll be below this one. And we'll say def write to text file or write text file. In these functions, it'll take in the file name, or these parameters take the file name, the content, or this will be like the top n. And that'll form the content. So now I want to grab a, where did I? Okay, I wrote a docstring for that one. Docstring for this one will be to write top n words to the file name. And then we'll grab that last bit of code down here from output all the way down to the bottom, actually. Copy, or I'll cut and put that in here. And we're going to need this n variable, so I'm going to do that in a different way. I could pass it to the function, but what I'm going to do instead, what I'm going to do instead is just calculate it using the length. So I'm going to say n equals len of top n. Right, so find the length of the dictionary. And how many items are in it. And this function doesn't need to return anything because I'm writing to a file. So I don't need a return statement. But what I do need is to call the function. And so write to file. And we'll say write text file. The text file will be called top n words.txt. And the content will be top n. So now I'll come out here and delete that file and run the code. Right, we see the file came back, and we've got 5 words in there because that's the value for n at the moment. What if we change it to 10? we get 10. And you could even allow the user to choose how many words they want. Right, whatever you want to do with it. Now, this portion, right, this portion that I have right here, I could define a function called main and put all this stuff in my main function. And then at the very, very bottom, I'll just call that main function, right, to actually execute the entire code. And this is a nice way to keep everything out of the global scope. I keep everything out of that main, the leftmost indentation. So it's kind of good practice. Right, so if we look at it right now, I've got all this code that's actually just helper code. Right, it's actually the kind of the meat of the code, but I don't need to really see that in order to know what this code is going to do, right? Because I've got these functions now, so we're gonna get some text, right? Or by reading a text file, we're gonna create a word list by scrubbing that text somehow, right? And if we want to know how, we can either hover over it and get our doc string, or we can go look at the code. Right, from the word count, or we're going to get the word list, right? From the word list, we're going to tally the words in the word list. And that's going to get our word counts. Right, and then we're going to take n, pass it into this function along with the word counts to find the top n words. Save that in a variable and then write that to a file. Right, so it kind of reads really nicely and it still kind of describes what's going on. That in the addition of the comments. And this will be like find the top n most frequent words or something. Right, so it kind of makes it pretty readable to write it that way. And then it's all kind of set up in this one function to run. And now this could be the face of your program here. And so what I could do is take all these extra functions and create a module. Right, so inside my word counts folder, I'm going to create a new file called utilities.py. Right, it could be like helpers or utilities or extra functions. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And then I'll come into my file here, and from above main all the way to the top, I'm going to cut. Right, leaving my main file as just this function. And then in utilities, I'm going to paste everything else. Right, so this is all those other functions, the import to string, and everything else. So I'm going to come back into word counts now, and all I need to, so when I save this, right, this isn't going to work anymore, right, because now my functions don't exist in this file, so I need to import them. Right, so I can say, I could say import utilities, right, and then come out in front of each of these and say like utilities dot read text file, and for all of them. But I don't want to do that, right? I just want to import these functions. So I'm going to say from utilities import, and I want to import all of these, right? And so what I can do is put some parentheses here and hit enter. And this will allow me to import them all like in a vertical fashion. So we can import read text file, comma. We can import scrub text, comma, tally words, comma, find top n words, comma, and write to text file, write text file. All right, so we just pull in those 5 functions, save, and if we delete this file here, run the code, we see that it still works. All right, so now we have, if we look at the main file, we're importing all these other things, but then this main file is just these like 8 lines of code or whatever, 6 lines of code in this code block. So I think that's kind of a nice way to organize things like that. And then if anyone's curious about these things, right, they can go back in. And it's bumming me out that it's not importing my doc strings here. I'm not sure why it's doing that. I must have messed up my settings somewhere. But that's the idea behind the doc strings, that when I import it, it should pull that doc string in, so I don't have to go back and look at the function exactly. Or I can go into my utilities and check it out, see what it actually does. Right, so it's just a way of organizing the code. But that's it.